All right, fellow friends, companions on the journey of the CPA exam. I'm here, ready to go. I have a cat on my lap and a cold glass of water, ready to go through some multiple choice questions with you. Which of the following is the auditor's primary means of obtaining corroboration of information furnished by management concerning litigation claims and assessments? Gosh, if I knew when I was, 12, if I knew I'd be saying sentences like that, I'd say end it that right there, right? I'm gonna be that boring when I'm older. I'm gonna be saying sentences like corroborating information furnished by management. But here we are, right? We gotta pay the bills somehow so that future generations can live on. Am I right? So anyway, so how are we gonna corroborate management's assessment of claims, litigations, and all that? Well, litigations and claims. I mean, generally, who deals with that? I would say legal deals with that, right? So, and generally, for the purposes of the exam, we assume that the client has an external lawyer, right? Now, not saying the client's lawyer is like independent by any means. I mean, sure, they're whether their client's lawyer is working for the client, as an employee, or they're a legal, service, a law firm that hired to help them out, just like a CPA firm doesn't work exclusively for one client. Either way, right? We need to talk to that lawyer. We need to send a letter of inquiry to the client's lawyer. Now, that's the answer. That's letter A. Well, let's look through the rest, right? Are we going to are we going to look through the minutes of the stockholders and the directors' meetings? No, right? I mean, it's not necessarily like who's going to definitively know of all the litigations and claims? Again, it's the lawyer. Are the minutes and the stockholder and director meetings, are those going to have all the information we need? No. I mean, they're going to be talking about other things. If the it did come up, maybe it does come up. I don't know. But a letter of representation supplied by management. Again, that's not really like management might not even know. So, and that might sound bad, but might be a million different claims. So those are generally going to go through the law firm, right? They're going to deal with that. So, and again, this is just a good process. This is what we do. Like this is just what we do in the CPA exam, right? To corroborate litigation, and also this information is coming from management. So we're not going to just ask management, hey, we got to go to a third party, such as the lawyer. We can't say, hey, management says we have 2 litigation claims. Hey, management, just say that, yeah, that's the case. No, we need to corroborate that. And then a review of contracts, leases, documents. No, we want to actually talk to someone, kind of get a gist of what's going on there. So I am going to leave us with the correct answer of letter A. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Again, however, audit evidence obtained from inside counsel, not a substitute for information outside counsel refuses to furnish, meaning if an outside external lawyer does not want to give us this corroborating evidence, we can't just go to the client's internal lawyer and get that. Yep, main points here. Move on to the next. An accountant performing a non-issuer's review engagement is considering the appropriateness of a client's balance for accrued wages. The accountant should perform each of the following procedures except which. All right. So first off, we're doing a review. So in so many questions, let's look through, is it an issue or non-issuer? What type of engagement is it? What stage of the audit or review or engagement are we in? Right? So for example, if we're in the planning stage, any testing answers are not going to be chosen. So again, like we're in the review stage here. So we're not going to do things such as substantive procedures. We know we're not going to inquire of external individuals and external parties, right? So that's just kind of another way to help us get through this. So for example, I'm going to jump around because that's what I do. Have a good time with this, right? Obtaining representations from management regarding the year-end balance. Okay, so that is something we're going to do. We should perform each of the following except which. So, right, this is not something we can't do with a review engagement. Review engagements are the same as audits, except obviously there are differences, except for we do not do substantive testing and we do not speak with third parties outside of the client. So this is something we will do during a review. What about making inquiries of the payroll accountant regarding completeness? So again, this is an inquiry of an internal client individual. So sure, we're going to do that, right? What about testing the process used by management to determine the balance? That sounds like a substantive procedure, right? That sounds very much like a substantive procedure. And comparing current year balance to prior year balance, that sounds like a analytical procedure. If that sounds like kind of just a simple comparison, but this is very much a test, right? We're doing a test there. We're doing an actual test of details. So that's why we're not going to do this. And what's the criteria here? Because it's a review. We don't even have to worry about appropriateness of client's balance for accrued wages. That is so not even relevant for this question, right? And a lot of times questions will seem like they're so much more complicated, but in reality, all we needed to say was it's a review. Which of these is not done in a review, right? So we're just eliminating this, making it nice and straightforward. Cat just jumped off my lap, so it's just me reading the questions for you. All right, let's keep going. For which of the following assertions related to accounts receivable would an auditor's initial assessment of risk of material misstatement of a non-issuer increased if the auditor discovers that client management does not regularly review the collectability of accounts receivable balances? So we've got completeness, rights and obligations, valuation, existence, right? I know this can be incredibly difficult, and rightly so. I mean, I was losing my mind when I was doing during the exam. What I would do if I were you, and I'll say this, in many different videos, so pardon me if I've said it in a video you've watched already. I'm just I'm gonna say it a million times. Every time, so whatever the answer is here, write down that the answer, right, is tied to accounts receivable. That way, it's make a big tally, right? So on a big spreadsheet, completeness, rights and obligations, valuation, existence, all these assertions. And then each time you see an example, whether it's in this course, online, a lesson, multiple choice question, a sim, keep adding to your big list. And believe me, my intention is to give you the best lists possible in this lesson. I hope the ones you've seen so far have been great. It's just, there's never a substitute for doing it yourself. There really isn't. Like as much as I want to give you all the formula sheets, you got to be able to write out the formulas yourself. So sorry, there's no shortcuts. Not saying that because I want you to do just as much work as I did. If anything, I would love to cut down the amount of work you have to do, and that's what I try to do. But there's no substitute for writing everything down yourself, and that way it helps you visualize it. That's just how the human brain works. So anyway, here the simple logic is that accounts receivable are tied to valuation, right? Why are they tied to valuation? Because reviewing the collectability of AR, well, you could say, yeah, so many people owe us money. We are owed $4 billion worth of money, but that's because maybe we've never written off any accounts receivable. Maybe that $4 billion is over the course of the last 50 years, and half the companies that owe us that money don't exist anymore. So we're not getting that $4 billion. So this is going to be directly tied to valuation. That's the nature of it, right? That's what we're dealing with, and that is it, right? Completeness, rights and obligations, existence. These are all going to be dealing with other accounts. AR needs to be written down to reflect a lesser asset value when you're not going to collect on it, right? So if the company goes out of business, you got to write that down. If they just straight up tell you, hey, we're not going to pay you, you got to write that down, etc., etc. Auditor has identified the controller's review of the bank rec as a control to test. In connection with this test, the auditor interviews the controller to understand the specific data reviewed on the reconciliation. In addition, the auditor verifies that the bank rec is properly prepared by the accountant and reviewed by the controller as evidenced by their respective sign-offs. Which of the following types of audit procedures do these actions illustrate? Okay, so again, these questions could be very difficult, and that's totally fine. Let's eliminate them one by one. Analytical procedures. Well, we kind of are familiar with analytical procedures, right? That would be ratios. I mean, we have a whole section on it. And I don't really see anything that indicates an analytical procedure here. Also, reperformance. We're not reperforming their process. We're just kind of checking in on step one, checking in on step two. So I'm going to cross off letter A. Confirmation would be sending a confirmation to someone, like confirming with someone. Yeah, and I'm making these super vague, right? I mean, this in the lesson. Again, I don't see reperformance and I don't see any confirmation. So I'm just going to cross that off. Like we're not going to a party and saying, oh, was this done? Or what's the amount that you see here? Nope, not seeing anything about that, so I'm going to write that off. Observation and inspection of records. So, I mean, we're definitely inspecting records, right? We're inspecting the bank rec. However, the difference here is inquiry versus observation. Observation would just be us, again, observing a process, observing an inventory count, observing something like that. Here we're inquiring, right? We're verifying something, right? We are interviewing the controller. So that those are inquiry related activities. So that is our final answer. Letter D. This is, good process of elimination question. You got to deal with those sometimes. One time, we're going to get through it together. I believe in you. I have faith. We'll get through it, and you'll move on to becoming rocket scientists, becoming professional dog walkers, everything else besides the CPA, right? Once you earn your CPA license, then you can pursue the real dream, right? Messing around, having a good time. All right, with that being said, I'll see you in the next one.
Hey there! Are you ready to not only pass your CPA exams, but truly understand and enjoy the material while studying? I know it seems impossible, right? Especially to enjoy the material? We'll do it together. Tap into the power of CPA.examprep.ai, where we've got personalized quizzes, multiple choice questions, memorization guides, flashcards, simulations, all tailored to your learning. Our adaptive study planning puts you on the fastest path to success and lifts you back up if you fall behind. Avoid wasting your precious time and money attempting an exam with a low chance of passing, because who wants that? We want to get you through this process as quick as possible. Our exam readiness prediction lets you walk in with confidence, knowing that you're prepared for success on exam day. Thankfully, there's no payment method needed to get started, so why don't you come join us? Visit cpa.examprep.ai and let's achieve your exam success together.